Hey guys, I bet you're probably wondering why this is here at the beginning when never in any of the other videos has I started a video like this. Now, I'll be honest, this episode has no audio. It kind of just happened. I was experimenting with this new microphone that I got. You can hear sounds better than before. And I had been experimenting with multiple monitors. And I didn't think to check OBS before I started the recording. So the audio capture just didn't happen. Now, I thought about just continuing on because I couldn't re-record. This is an Iron Man run. There's only one save. It auto saves. I can't go back. So I debated, do I want to upload this? Do I want to just say, okay, the recording was just messed up. It wasn't up to par. But considering how future events in the series played out, especially in this episode, I needed to include this because otherwise the next episode just doesn't make any sense. Now, as a result, you get the episode that you get. I'm going to comment on what happened, tell you like what my thoughts were, probably just play like steady XCOM music. I don't know, it'd probably be something like that. And there is an image of a bird in there. Note that the recording of this episode happened middle of the night, like 3 a.m. because I was taking care of one of our sick birds. She's doing better now. At the time, we honestly thought that she was going to die. So that's why we're a bit delayed on the episode, and I discovered this. Now, she's doing okay. There were 2 breaks I took because every hour I have to feed her. Because she's just incapable of eating right now on her own. And yeah, the picture that actually shows up like we'll be right back, that was actually that's a picture of, well, her name's Blue. That's a picture of her after the fact, now that she actually has the strength to move around and stuff. But anyhow, enough about that. I bet you just want to go back to the video, so here we go. Okay, welcome to episode 17 of Bootleg XCOM 2. Like I said, there's no audio here. Right here, I was just discussing what the plan was. I believe it was just something along the lines of... I think at this point, I was just talking about like the bird situation. And I was just saying about how I would have to go feed her. I remember that part. And yeah, it was just an explanation. There's not really much else to talk about. I mean, I already discussed it in the episode that comes after this. At the time, the bird was pretty critically ill, like she couldn't even move. And then I was discussing what I was gonna do. Like, I don't think there was anything I could do here, so we went to... Yeah, I remember I ignored this because I thought to myself, I want to make communications. So we just continue with contacting New Mexico. And yeah, you can see we had 3 pips left before the Avatar project got out of control. Little did I know how bad it was gonna get, really. Hey, it is what it is, you know. You can't really do much about it. Oh, right, I completed the Psi Lab at this point. So from here on out, we were starting to train psionic soldiers. We just checked out the Psi Lab. I was pretty happy with how that was turning out. I mean, could have been worse, I suppose. And then I was debating, like, I was like, okay, rookie Adam Martin, you're gonna be my Psi operative. At least that was the plan. And I thought to myself, we need more engineers. Because I wanted to get that training done as soon as possible. Not much else there. We went right back to interacting with New Mexico. At least at this point, I was just I was talking about my plan. I was gonna make contact with the Eastern United States, Western United States, build my 2 towers, then go to Europe and get that benefit so that we could get the free rookies. Well, not really free rookies, but you get what I mean. And we got plasma grenades. Oh yeah, I remember that. We got the ability to build them, but I still need to do the Proving Ground project for it. There's not much else to talk about there. Oh yeah, this is where we unlock the advanced launcher. I didn't build it until the next episode, but I liked having it there. Oh yeah, and we could do the lost autopsy. So now we have the sonic emitters. I think that's what they're called. So if we go on another lost mission, I can redirect the lost to actually attack Advent and not be after me the whole time. I mean, I don't really mind having them after me, but you guys have seen the process I used before. We'll just blow explosions next to them and hope that the lost spawn over there, which they did. But then after the Advent's taken care of, I need to take care of them. Now, I don't really mind doing that, but I'd rather just bring them all to them. And as I recall, I actually don't know if it breaks concealment if we throw these. I think it would. I think it did. But we'll have to test it out. Like, I haven't played with those devices since 2017. So, yeah. Actually, I think that's what I was discussing at this point too. How my plan was to use this in the next Lost mission. Or at least anything that involved Lost. Because while the Mimic Beacon saves me various times in the coming episodes, here I don't think I had it. Or maybe I did. I think I did. Yeah, I did. But I didn't really want to depend on that all the time, because it's only good for one turn. It's not like it used to be. And at this point we were just taking care of a bunch of autopsies. I remember that much. Debating which autopsy to do. And I believe I wanted to do the Advent Mech Wreck because I wanted the Gremlin Mark IIs. Because you guys have seen how my specialists keep failing their hacks, which was honestly getting on my nerves. I mean, there's only a couple ways you can increase the hack score. You can either do the covert ops. Sometimes a hacking reward is increased hack score. Getting the Skulljack with skull mining. And upgrading the gremlins. That's the only ways. And after that, you're kind of screwed. But yeah, I was debating what to do there. We may be in contact with the Templars, I remember that. Oh yeah, there, I remember that. That little pause was because the bird I was talking about, she like screamed, so I had to quickly leave my computer to check on her. And she was okay. But I didn't really edit it out here because I just went to check on her. But it was just she was... No wait, no, that's not what happened. That was the other day. No, what happened was I went to go feed her. She didn't really want to eat. But the section was so small that it didn't really seem to matter to edit that out. Well, actually, no, it was edited out, but I didn't really see the need to put, like, the... Oh, the proving ground. Yeah, this is where we got the proving ground, guys. I forgot about this. But, yeah, this is where we got the proving ground. I was pretty happy. I moved... Well, I assigned the engineer here. I decided... What did I decide to get here? I don't actually remember. I think it was the Skulljack. Oh, no. First we went for the experimental ammo, right. Because we had a instant because of the Reaper order. And I was hoping to get Talon rounds and AP rounds. And yeah, we got the Talon rounds right away. I was super pumped about that. Because put that on a Ranger, and they're pretty much critting every single time. And they crit hard. And the Dragon rounds, I was like, okay, that's fine. I mean, Tracer rounds, that's not bad. I don't really want it. And then the last Illyrium core I was willing to spend on this got me the AP rounds. So I was happy. because it meant that I was probably going to put it on my sharpshooters in order to penetrate the armor that we're now dealing with, so that way I didn't have to worry about shredding all the time. I mean, it's cool and all, but it took a lot of cores to do that. And so I was kind of like, I want the spider suit, I want the exosuit. The exosuit is what I really wanted. But I figured, hey, we're getting right up there on Avatar. I need to advance this plot a bit to get that counter down. We can always go back to build the exosuit. But yeah, the exosuit, put it on Grenadier. Amazing. It syncs really well with them. And so I left that alone. And Mox, he came back, and Estella recovered from her wounds. And I was really happy that Mox came back, because that I remember his negative trait was he would just automatically fire on Overwatch, which the reason why I hated that is because imagine like we're concealed, and well, you want to use Overwatch a lot. Every time I Overwatch, there is the risk that he just fires and breaks concealment for everybody, which can be pretty crippling, because he's actually pretty good, especially with the upgrades added to his weapons. Oh, and here we made a contact with New Mexico, so I was pretty stoked about that. I was like, okay, let's start building the tower right away, because now we can actually make contact with the eastern United States. But I think like it was like 120, 140 intel to make contact, which is pretty much our whole supply. And if I use that all up on that, well, I was like, okay, I won't be able to make any more new contacts if I do this. So it's best to just build the tower in New Mexico. And yeah, at this point we had met the Hunter, Gurmai Komain, the Dusthound. And I was commenting on that. It's like, this is actually one of my favorite chosen to fight. That's what I was talking about. I was saying how I'm actually looking forward to fighting him. He's problematic in a different sense, but he's very counterable. Although many people don't like him because he's easier than the other chosen. For me, it's like, it's a nice break in comparison to the assassin always stabbing someone, or the warlock summoning his psi army that I have to deal with. I think there I was talking something about my future plans, because I know I wanted Resistance Network for, like I said, the instant contact, because it's pretty big not having to wait a week between like making contact and doing stuff. So I was pretty stoked about finally making it here to the United States, and I'd have access to Russia, but that's going to be ignored for now, was the plan, because there's no facilities there. So I mean, eventually I get the feeling that there's going to be a facility down in Australia. There always is, and it's always a pain to make contact with Australia, just because it's really isolated, and the only real way to get there is from Asia. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I wanted to go to the Skirmisher HQ and finish up my builds quicker, but it wasn't really worth it, not with the current situation as it was. I mean, at this point I wasn't too worried. It was just like, okay, we're just gonna keep building the relay. And oh, Nat came back, so I unstaffed that engineer, and I was like, okay, you're gonna speed up my psi training. That way we can get the psi operatives out there as soon as possible, because against armor, psi operatives just shred the enemy, and it offers so many tactical abilities. And now with Nat back, and then back, like, we got the Templars here, we made contact. I was very, very excited about this, because after having the Skirmishers, the Reapers, I, well, realized / remembered that, hey, it's probably the Templars who have the Sabotage Avatar Project covert op. So that, okay, we're gonna get them, and from there it'll just be a straight shot. Like, we can keep Avatar under control, and these are some of my favorite troops, just because of the way their battle system works. Like, you can just go right up there, slash somebody. And given the condition that there's only one enemy there, they will just completely nullify the next attack if they get a kill. So this was exciting, and we needed a counter for the Warlock, since it turns out he's weak to them. I mean, before, I think the last time I fought this campaign, he was strong against the Hunter. I think it was reversed for me last time. Such things happen. I mean, this game is pretty much all RNG. You get what you get, maps being procedurally generated, the different conditions that you have to fight being procedurally generated, and that's what I love about this game. You need to adapt. If you don't adapt, you die. And yeah, I mean that. Other than that, it was just like, okay. And I could see there, I was like, okay, so that's the covert ops available right now. I mean, I was like, I'm sad that there's no delay avatar project, but I have to make an attempt to find the assassin now. Since Nat's back, and she's getting really close to finding the Avenger. I'm like, okay, within like a month, she's going to find the Avenger, she's going to shoot it down, and then we're going to have to do an Avenger defense against her. And if I lose that, then, well, that's the end game. We lose. And I was, well, I can win the mission. They're easier than the normal Avenger defense, but I don't want to deal with it, you know? And then I was looking at the different things. I was like, okay, we're going to hunt the assassin down. Well, not really hunt her down. We're just going to look for a way into her base. And I really wanted to do the engineer. So I was like, okay, I'll do that, and then I'll do the engineer. But as you'll see shortly, plans start derailing. And since my Templar turned out to be a squatty, which was actually pretty disappointing to me, I decided, okay, you're going to go on a covert op. Hopefully you promote. That way I can actually take you on missions without risking your life. Because, as I said, hero units, very valuable. Their loss is a huge blow. Like, it's frankly a miracle that up until this point I haven't lost any of them. Especially Mox, but I think that saved him is just the fact that I focused so much on getting his HP up. And here we were just setting up the into the fire mission. I was like, there's a chance of wounding. Hopefully we don't get wounded. Like, I saw the wounding, I was like, the ambush I didn't really want, so I knew I was going to send a Reaper. I believe I sent Final. Yeah, I did. I can see right there, I sent Final. And like that, like, okay, no ambush. This way Nat doesn't get tired. Like, I knew Vasquez could use it because he would rank up for it for sure. But I wasn't risking Nat becoming tired when I need him. I need my best troops for any chosen kill mission. And yeah, that was the plan. I was like, okay. So first we're going to take into the fire. I'm going to kill the assassin, hopefully. Because I was like, I only get one shot at it. And then we go after the black site. I was like, okay, we've got a plan. Everything's, while my situation wasn't great at the time, like, I'm gonna start getting under control, because now we've actually made the progress I wanted. I was like, okay, this I can do. And I was like, just continue building. Not really much else to talk about here. I mean, right there you can see I got blue screen protocol, which is great against the mechs. I'm going to have to build that before we get to the sectopods, which I'm due for. I'm very due for, because we're pretty much right there on the Archon. And I believe the next stage after that is a sectopod, which is worrying. So for that, I need to have anti-mech stuff ready. Like, my specialists need better gear. Blue screen protocol is going to be invaluable. AP rounds as well. Oh, and I remember this. I went for the Viper. I want to get the Viper stuff because I was like, okay. So I'm going to fight, well, Chosen. I need better med stuff. And at the time I didn't remember, but you do need to do the Proving Ground project after that. But it increases the amount of healing you get from each med pack, which is good if you're taking huge injuries. I was like, why not? And all the other research kind of sucks at the moment. I mean, we can't really get any better research until I finish the Illyrian project. And yeah, other than that, what was I doing? I don't remember what it was I decided to research after this. Oh wait, no, they were still building the Skulljack, that's right. Yeah, sorry about that little interlude you see there. I figured I did some work on that. I want to include it. It's a waste to have it just disappear, you know? I think at this point I was discussing like the particulars of why I had these breaks. About how it was middle of the night. At the time it was 3 in the morning. The rest of my family had to go to sleep. I didn't have work. I didn't have school. It made sense for me to be the one who was up. And oh yeah, at this point I was like checking what I wanted to build. I think I built the Gremlin Mark II at this point. Because I was like, okay, I want that increased hack chance. The rest was kind of like a wait and see. Depending on how things developed, what I needed when. Because even though I had 285 supplies, in the grand scheme of things, that's not much. And yeah, and there's still a ton of video left, so it made sense to just wait. And especially in Iron Man, like since every choice is permanent, I wanted to make sure that it counted for something. And so I went back. I think this is where things start going wrong. Yeah, here's where things started just hitting the fan. I was just shocked because I was like, oh crap, I thought it might have been a minor. I was starting to panic here because I was like, okay, at least it's in the eastern United States, so like I can deal with this. I didn't expect it this soon. I was expecting a facility built soon. I was like, okay, that's just gonna be a pip. I was like, okay, I just build it. I was like, okay, so I've got to reduce Avatar down really quick. It was like, first eastern United States target no matter what. And then this happened right after they built their facility. And then I really started panicking because I was like, okay, I'm in the end game now, whether I want to be or not. Because this meant that they had just done the last bit of research. They had finished the Avatar project. They're just consolidating everything. And I was just panicking, going about, now these are the most desperate of times. Like, I'd want things to go on my terms, but now, whether I wanted to or not, the aliens were about to win. I was like, there's no way I want this to be the way the series ends, like me not being able to properly manage the Avatar project. And yeah, it turned out they built the alien facility in Chile. So I was like, okay, well, I can get to that right away. But first things first, I need to finish off the Eastern United States. It didn't change the fact that I needed to build the tower first, because I need the intel cost to be lowered. And at this point I was like, okay, it's going to take me another 3 days to make contact, well not make contact, to build the tower. It'll take a maximum of 7 days, potentially worst case scenario, to contact the Eastern US. So I was like, okay, we're going to have about 3 days left over. Once I finish this, I was like, okay, let's get her going, get her going. There's nothing else to do. And I was planning things out in my head. I remember that I was kind of in a little panic. Because things were going badly, because this meant that I had to do some pretty tough missions one after the other, because alien facilities, very well guarded. And I think at this time I didn't realize that there was probably going to be a ruler there at this one. Or maybe I did. I don't quite remember. I knew that it was either going to have a ruler or a chosen. Either one presented its own difficulties. I was like, okay, I just have to roll with it. There's no time to even debate this. Like, okay, we'll do research really quick. Any scanning that could be done, we're just gonna disregard. I was like, the biggest issue is gonna be supplies and intel because of this. But yeah, I mean, there was nothing else to talk about. It was just... Oh, I think here I discussed my plans. It was just like, okay, the plan: build a tower, make contact with the Eastern United States. Then I was going to do the black site, then immediately follow it with the chosen assault mission. I was like, okay, the aliens may have forced my hand, but the way I'm gonna go about this, they're not gonna take that from me. This is gonna go on my terms, not theirs, whether they like it or not. Oh, and here we got our first Psy operative. I mean, he was essentially just a squatty. I remember his first ability sucked, so I was like, okay, he's not even a good one yet. And at the time I wanted to give him Fortress, but I felt Soulfire was going to be better because it's the basic psionic skill, essentially. It doesn't do much damage. Oh yeah, he has Stasis. So it could help with controlling the battlefield, but he's still squatty, you know? And squatties, while nice, they're still going to get killed if I do that. And considering the amount of time it takes to train them, because they don't gain XP from missions, they can only promote via the Psi chamber. So if they get wounded, that's time that they're not spending training. And I knew for a fact he's gonna get wounded because his aim sucks. He has no combat abilities other than the gun, and it's just gonna be bad all around. Oh, we got the battle scanner off of that autopsy, and I think at this point I went for the priest, because I remember in the next episode I finished that. I mean, I'm not spoiling anything for the next episode of this one, because I'm like a couple episodes ahead already, so I already know how everything went down. It's just that in order to prepare this video, especially considering there's no audio, it took a long time of editing. Like, I had to find the music that you're listening to right now. I had to rewatch the video to get this recording going, because I have good memory, but I don't remember everything that went down. I just remember the gist. But I want to have some kind of audio here, because otherwise it's just a silent movie, and that's not as interesting. Yeah, I think at this point there wasn't really much else to do here. Oh, right. At this point, since my hand had been forced, I'd wanted to build the shadow chamber. And I know for a fact that I can. At the time I didn't. I was like, okay, the shadow chamber is going to advance the plot, and we can get some avatar progress reduced that way. So I was like, okay, start clearing that out. I mean, this isn't really the order I wanted to go about things. I think I wanted to build a training facility, but again, we had reached the most desperate of times in my mind. Oh, and then we were immediately assaulted with a retaliation. I was just fed up with this. I was like, and of course it's in New Mexico, because for those of you who don't know, the thing about retaliation missions, if you don't respond to them, you lose the resistance in whatever region they're operating in. So in this case, if I let it go, I lose New Mexico, and you can't remake contact for a good while. I mean, they come back eventually, but you'd have to remake contact with them and go through all this process. And I was like, okay, well, I don't have a choice. I need to take it, and I need to win, because if I fail, that's it. There's no chance in hell that I'm reaching another black site in time and making enough of a dent in the Avatar project to actually buy myself some time to do the story missions. So I was like, okay, let's just go with it. And since we just made contact with not contact with the Chosen, but we encountered a Chosen in this region, I was like, okay, we're gonna have to deal with the Hunter. So I was like, okay, I'm taking Mox for sure. He's the only one who actually counters the Hunter. And yeah, it was just discussing with everybody what I just discussed now. I do remember that conversation. And I was like, okay, this is just the standard fare. Just equip different soldiers with their stuff. And then I was like, okay, I need to consider the future. Very shortly, we're going to assault a black site, which is going to be potentially tougher than this. And then right after that, we're going to go after the assassin. So I need the assassin mission to have my best troops. Because if we get to that point, I only have one shot at her. The black site, I need my second best troops. Because honestly, those missions are pretty difficult. And for this one, that meant that I would have to take some of my weaker troops. Mox, I knew for a fact was going to be like my highest ranking, I thought. Other than that, there's not really much to talk about here. I mean, I've already gone over it all. I guess I can discuss a little bit about the lovebird while you guys just watch how I was debating what soldiers to take. But you guys have already watched me do debates on this, so you're not missing much. So the bird that we own is a lovebird. And honestly, we weren't sure what was wrong. I mean, that morning, we had just found, not morning, it was afternoon, right when all the vets had closed. We couldn't really get her any treatment. She was just collapsed there at the edge of her cage, gripping with her beak the edge of the cage really tightly. And I wasn't at home at the time, but my family didn't know what to do. Like, they thought she was dying. There was a moment where she just collapsed and was breathing really shallowly, really rapidly. Then she kind of recovered. And since we couldn't find a vet, I suggested we get some baby bird formula. I was like, okay, well, let's get some food in her. That way we can see if she lasts through the night. And when we picked her up, she wasn't even fighting it. Like, normally she hates being picked up. Like, she'll go on your hand if you offer, but she doesn't like being picked up. And yeah, we just picked her up. We were feeding her. The first time she could barely eat anything. She ate a little bit more each time. She was getting back some of her energy. At the time of this recording, she had just started walking around during the last feeding. Like, we fed her, and then to see if she had the strength to walk, I put her on the floor. She walked around. She started chirping a little, which was a lot more than she'd done before, because before she couldn't even walk. She couldn't even keep her eyes open, keep her head up. It really did look like she was on death's door. I was like, okay, at this point I was a lot more relaxed. I'm like, okay, she's gonna make it through the night. And in the morning we're gonna take her to her vets. Hopefully they'll be able to tell us what's wrong. Since that's already passed, I can actually tell you. They said that she either was malnourished, which she definitely was. She was pretty much skin and bone, so she'd been hiding this for a little while. She might have an infection. And they also told us, worst case scenario, she might have liver failure. And if that was the case, we would see some improvement in her, but then in a couple of days she would deteriorate, and that was going to be it. Since it's been a few days, I can tell you, it doesn't look like it's liver failure, because the antibiotics we're giving her seems to be working. At least because they told us that the fact that the color of the droppings were yellow, that's what kind of tipped them off into what it might be. And it is starting to change color again. So because of that, I'm assuming that it's not liver failure. So I'm pretty sure she's going to pull through. But we still have to make sure to feed her, because she's not eating much on her own. Like, she's eating her food, but it's not enough, you know? And she needs to put on some weight, because, like I said, she's literally just skin and bones right now. So even though now we're still feeding her every hour. Well, actually, no, now we're feeding her every 2 hours, because she eats on her own somewhat. So she's eating a lot less from the formula. Well, we're feeding her the formula we got her that night, and some other stuff that the vet gave, which was meant for very sick birds, and some water laced with antibiotics. So that's pretty much her treatment. It was a bit touch and go. Right now, it seems she's pulling through, which is nice, because she's not exactly my bird. She's my mom's bird, but my mom's raised her since she was a baby. So She's been there for a good while, and I don't want to see her die. So, this has been, well, it hasn't been the easiest. It has been worth actually going through the sleepless nights so that she gets better. Oh, I can hear one of our other birds in the background singing. Oh, I heard Blue. Looks like she's finally responding to the other birds. Fantastic. Yeah, like one of the things Blue does is she imitates one of our cocktails that knows a bunch of songs, and she imitates him, and then he responds to her by singing a different tune back, and she responds. Honestly, I think the other bird was pretty sad about the fact she wasn't responding lately, so I'm guessing he's really cheerful right now that she's answering back. I mean, she's not singing, she's just answering. Like, you know how cocktails sound when they're singing, and the lovebird's little chirps when they're calling to something. Yeah, she's just chirping. She's not singing yet. She started chewing up paper again, though, so I'm taking that as a good sign. Oh, and now going back to the video, now that I've talked about all that, I can see that I put Corporal Barry, who was tired as hell. Later on, you're going to see why I don't like taking tired soldiers into combat. There are issues that present, especially if you come up against psionic beings. Like, their willpower is their ability to resist just mental statuses or psionic attacks. So the lower the will, the less they resist. And his will is pretty low because of the tiredness. And yeah, at this point we were going into Operation Empty Terror, which honestly lived up to its name. And at this point I was thinking, okay, there's two kinds of missions it could be. It's either going to be the really tough one, or it's going to be the kind where we get the resistance. Now, we find out, actually here, we see save resistance forces. So I was like, okay, that's a relief. We're going to have backup on this mission. So, even though we're probably going to deal with some big nonsense in this battle, I'm going to have reinforcements that are actually pretty good. I remember the first time I played War of the Chosen, I was like, ah, oh, great, now that I've got more people to babysit, like in XCOM 1, where the base gets assaulted, the standard XCOM guards just get decimated, but they're good for just cannon fodder to get fire off your troops. Here, it was like, they count as actual civilians you need to save, so I was like, it makes it harder when they're actively seeking combat. But no, I really like the fact that they can actually aim. Generally speaking, they aren't targeted that much. And although it is, I consider it a bit of an oversight, the fact that left to their own devices, they'll pretty much decimate the aliens, because the aliens don't really attack them. So they just keep getting shot by the resistance forces. And here I remember I was like, okay, I've got a building here. I want to get my sharpshooters up there so that they get a line of sight eventually on the whole battlefield. I was like, this building probably has aliens in it. I'm gonna have to be really careful. I don't want to trigger a pod just yet. And I was like, okay, well, I can get a line of sight here for the civilians. That way at least a sharpshooter is protecting them. You can keep some of them alive, because I'm like, okay, I just need to keep 6 people alive. Just 6. If I can get 6 people out of here, I pass the mission no matter what. Oh yeah, and here I was talking about why I didn't want Ingrid going on the Chosen Assault. This letter turned out to be irrelevant regardless, but I didn't want to take her because every time she misses, which is going to be pretty often in that mission. Well, I don't know if it's every time. I think about it, but if she misses, I don't want her panicking and then shooting one of my troops in the middle of the mission. Like I said, this turned out to be irrelevant later, just because of the assassin. She really screwed me over after this was said and done. but at least right now I was like, okay, that's why I'm taking her on this mission. Oh, and here is the hunter. This is our first encounter with him. You can see why I wanted to keep this episode now, right? Because Avatar, first encounter with the hunter. At the very least, I got the footage. It's something. Although I will say I'm gonna double check OBS from here on out and be paranoid about it, because the amount of editing I have to do, amount of extra recording just to make a passable video for this is pretty big. So we're already past overdue on when this was supposed to go out, but it's because I'm doing essentially the work of 3 videos in one just to bring this out. Oh, and Berserkers, this was our first encounter with the Berserkers. So the gist about Berserkers is they have a ton of health, and they have this tendency to berserk, which is actually pretty good if they're surrounded by their own forces, because in a berserk state they don't care who they attack. And I was like, okay, if they can attack the aliens, that's fine, but I didn't want them berserking this close to the civilians, because they hit hard and their attacks disorient. And then I had the Muton there too, which was, though they always come in pairs. I mean, there's always like a pod of like Mutons. There's always a Berserker in it. Although on these kinds of difficulties, I believe that the Mutons I'm gonna have to deal with for the whole campaign. But the Berserkers are much rarer. Like, they pop up for like 1 month and then they're like gone. I mean, they're gonna be everywhere this month, but after this, the aliens just stop fielding them, because it actually makes it slightly easier fighting the Berserkers, because you just enrage one, you pull your soldiers back, the Berserker just goes ham on its own troops. And then here, you see, more Berserkers. And I was like, oh, this sucks, because it means that the resistance is going to have some issues, because they're only doing like 4 or so damage per hit. Berserkers have just so much HP. And I was very thankful at this point to have the mag weapons. I mean, it's not the best, but it's close enough. Like, it lets us hold our ground. Can you imagine fighting these things with the ballistic weaponry we had before? I mean, soon we're going to be making progress into plasma. That's another reason why I want the Lyrium project to be done. You need to do that as a basis in order to get to that research. And here, I remember I was kind of stressing out because I'm like, I need to take out that Muton. But then over here, like you can see, we had a Spectre and... God, what was the other thing? I think it was Advent? No, Viper, that's what it was. Yeah, the Viper was like, the Viper's gonna take my sharpshooter off of here, so I gotta shoot it. I was like, 91% chance, that's not bad. I was like, oh, please hit, and yes, we got a critical, and it died. So I was like, okay, I don't have to deal with that. I don't have to deal with a bound soldier and a shadow bound soldier. I was like, okay, I'm probably gonna get shadow bound. But at the very least, I can try to weaken this thing up so that we can finish it off right away after it shadow bounds. So I was like, okay, we're gonna frag it. We're gonna get rid of its cover so that somebody can shoot it. Because at least this way we'll have it flanked by virtue of the fact that it has no cover. But then I found out there was no angle I could get where I'm still in cover, but it's not. So I was like, okay, just have to deal with it. I'm gonna take a shot with Bob. Yeah, Bob. So take a shot with Bob. Hopefully he hits. If I remember right, he didn't. I was pretty mad about that, because even though I equipped him with AP rounds for like fighting anything, he pretty much hits nothing this whole episode. It was just bad RNG, and it was really frustrating. I was like, I might as well just put the AP rounds here on Ingrid. Which I actually don't remember if I did. No, I didn't. I dead-eyed it. It didn't die. But I only had 1 pip of health left. I don't actually remember if I recalled having a stock on this weapon. Oh wait, no, I remember. I need to shoot the Berserker as well. So I decided to whiplash it, since it didn't cost an action to do this. It turned out to be a pretty good move. So I was like, okay, Now I just need to deal with the Berserker. Which, I was like, okay. I'm gonna try and shoot with my Ranger. Because this is the last soldier I've got. I was like, okay, we're actually keeping this under control. We haven't lost anybody. And there you see the 14 damage. That's why I love the Talon rounds. I really wanted to get that. I was like, okay, I'm about to get Shadowbound, and what's this? Miraculously, it didn't go for me. I did, however, shoot a city. Which was frustrating, but hey, better than my own troops getting shot. I mean, there are people that I can afford to lose. It sounds cruel, but this is war. Oh, and here we see the Hunter's main ability. He can track us from pretty much anywhere on the field. Targets one to shoot. And the way you counter that is you just move out of the way. Like that, whoever he's shooting at, you just need to move him out of the firing zone to where he can't see. And you'll be perfectly fine. I have never actually been hit by a shot. No, actually, I think I got hit once, but that's because I was stuck in a situation where I was in decent cover, and if I moved, I was going to be flanked on like 4 different sides. So I had to make a call, and I decided, you know what, hunkering down is going to be my best option. And I actually don't remember how hard it hits, but I'm pretty sure it hits kind of hard. I don't believe it disorients, but it just hits hard. That time my soldier lived, but was badly wounded, I remember. I believe they had to hang back for the rest of the mission because we were dealing with Lost at the same time. Because like I said, sometimes the Lost events, the dark events get bugged, and I had to deal with Lost for 6 months in a row, right up until the end game. Not a fun time. Because the constant combat just makes it so that you can't deal with it. Oh yeah, and here we got a crit on the Spectre, so I was like, okay. Like, we saved all these civilians. And this whole time I'm thinking, I wonder where they're camped exactly. It looks weird. But they made me proud when I realized where they were camped. You'll see what it is. Because I was just like, oh, wow. Either XCOM did that, a military did that, or these guys did. And if these guys did it, I'm like, I am proud to call the Mexican resistance part of XCOM now. Like, just the audacity of the whole thing. it's just funny to me. Like, you'll see. And yeah, at this point I was repositioning everyone, repositioning my sharpshooters onto the rooftop, making it so they get a line of sight on the battlefield to come. Although, to be honest, for the very end stages of this mission, this turned out to be a pretty crappy spot because they couldn't help out on what happened after. I mean, here, for this engagement, it turned out to be okay, but it could have been way better. God, I love the resistance. Like, every time they have a turn, they always do so much work for me. Like, you see that, right? Like, they just shoot him. And that scene right there tipped me off that there was some kind of canyon there. So I was thinking, okay, use whatever ledge they're on as sharpshooter grounds. But it wasn't that good, you'll see. And at this point, I saw what it was. They're camped on a UFO. And I was just, it amused me to no end to see the fact that they're camped on a UFO. Like, I was just like, how did they even, because as I recall, according to the official canon, only 2 or 3 UFOs were ever shot down during the 2015 war. And those were by XCOM. So I was like, is this one of them? Because I know the Avenger is one of those ships that was shot down. And it was repaired over the, well, not 20 years, but over the last, like, good while before XCOM 2 starts up. They were repairing that to use as a mobile base to avoid the type of ambush that happened during XCOM 1. Because that's supposedly what caused the, well, apart from Earth's government surrendering the location, that's what caused the loss of the First War. So they're like, okay, let's just make a mobile base that they can try to track us down, they'll never be able to know where exactly we're located. Which is honestly pretty cool. So I'm like, okay, this must be the second UFO shot down. Any other UFOs had to have happened recently. And I'm guessing from the fact that there's an encampment here, this is one of them. But I'm like, that is, I don't know, that is just really ballsy to construct your camp right on top of the enemy. At this point, we were gonna start engaging with what the ton of mutons that turned out to be. Like, you see how many mutons there are here, and I love the fact that the resistance is just critting all over the place, because they were really softening up the targets that I'm gonna have to fight. And I was like, okay, I need to engage soon, because I don't. But the moment that the aliens see me, they're gonna start taking out the civilians, taking out the resistance. So I need to be ready to just move. And yeah, right there you can see the enemy I expected. Just mutons, the berserker. And I'll tell you right now, God, there were so many aliens. Like, so many pods just right next to each other. This next part really stressed me out, because I was like, I only get one shot at this. If I fail, that's it. I mean, I haven't saved enough civvies. I need to wipe out everything else on this map if I want to save enough. And yeah, actually, I had an idea, because that muton was right next to an explosive, well, just more like gas stores or whatever, but it's explosive. I was like, okay, he has no cover because of that. Like, all I need to do is shoot that, and one, I'm gonna shred his armor. Two, I might just outright kill him. Which is nice, you know. It's, yeah, you can see there I shot. I don't recall if I killed it. No, I didn't kill it, but it shredded the armor, left him flanked, and we just have it available to shoot him now. And here I moved Mox. Actually, at the time I didn't realize that I sent him to a place without cover. But it was all to shoot this muton, which, because of the stock, was a guaranteed kill. But it didn't matter, because in the end, well, he was just there. And here I was debating who to shoot the last alien with. I was like, okay, shoot with her. I don't actually think she hits. Oh, she did? Okay. She did hit. Which left Broker here. I was like, okay, there's some stuff up there. Oh, and because of what the Chosen said there, I thought that, because he said, oh, it's just you and me now. I'm like, wait, what? I remember there being more aliens than this, at least from when I could see the resistance shooting at. And yeah, I was right about that. The hunter's a filthy liar. And yeah, now at this point people start going splat. Jeff Green, he's the one who died. And of course we start getting tracking shots. And it was on him there. So I was like, okay, he needs to move out of the way. I was like, I'm gonna move him to grab the items, and this will give a squad sight to our sharpshooters so they can take out the mutons, the berserker. Because I was like, okay, at the rate they're shooting. And yeah, this is what I meant by like I saw these aliens beforehand. Oh yeah, and at that point, since he was like, I'm watching, it was like a joke. I remember calling him Stalker at the time. Oh, it sucks. It really sucks that this episode just doesn't have the audio it was meant to have. Like, I hope that what I did here actually was worth it, and you enjoy it regardless. Yeah, we got a repeater there. That one's the one I'm gonna end up using next episode. I'm not going to tell you why, but that repeater is godlike. But yeah, I really do hope that this episode I know it's not going to be the best, especially like comparison to how the other episodes go. I'd been hoping this was going to be the debut for my new microphone. Just make it so it has better audio. Like, you're not just constantly hearing me through this mic, because it was a headset before, which is okay if you're gaming and you're distracted, but here for these videos, it can get really annoying, especially since I have some respiratory issues. Like, I know it's annoying. It annoys me. Oh, and here we get to see the first application of the Mimic Beacon. Like, back when the game originally launched, the Mimic Beacon was broken. Like, it would just stay there forever. The aliens would just focus it constantly. You could just throw it there in the middle of a pod. They would completely ignore you while you decimate them, which is why they gave the 1 turn limit. And this is the thing where things started going wrong in this episode, because I was like, I didn't mean to trigger this pod just yet. Especially not with Mox without his double shooting ready. So I was like, okay, I just gotta deal with it now. I've got Mutons, I've got the Berserker. I'm like, I had to accept the fact that somebody's about to get hit by this Berserker. I was like, but if I can take out the Mutons, I don't have to deal with the grenades. And this is why I wanted to get the plasma grenades as soon as possible, because you see the range the normal grenades have. It's not enough to hit both of them. Plasma would have been great, because I could take I wanted to make the Berserker berserk and have him go fight his own Muton buddies. I was like, okay, I'll shred a little bit of armor off of the Muton. I'll blow up his cover so that he's flanked. And yeah, at this point, I remember debating what I was going to do, because I had a lot of aliens to deal with and I did not have enough for everybody. And I need to move Ingrid up, because she was in an angle where she couldn't see everybody. Another reason why I was sad that we triggered this pod early. And Kibayashi missed, and I just... why? I needed the hit. And yeah, of course, miss happens, and what I feared was gonna happen happened. Just a wham. And then this guy went up. I was like, what are you doing? But then I realized he's going after the Mimic Beacon, so I was like, okay, he wasted his turn. And I'm like very happy that he missed, because it means the beacon's still there, so it can still do some distraction. And this melee happens, which honestly I thought the Mox was about to die. And he lived. I was like, oh god, if I hadn't given him that training, he would, well, not training, but the PCS, he would have been screwed. Then Bob panicked here, which illustrates the point of why I don't like sending people to combat when they're tired. I thought he was shooting a civilian at the time. I panicked at the time. I said something along the lines of like, no! And sorry if I blasted your ears there, but that's pretty much how it went. But then I realized, okay, he just missed against the Berserker. I was like, I can deal with that. Oh, and here we get to see another reason why I love the Mimic Beacon. You see, the hunter here thought he was a legit person, so he tried tracking it, but it was actually at the end of its lifespan anyway, since the turn had passed, so it just disappeared immediately. So the Chosen didn't even act that turn. And they started working, and they took out that Muton for me, which worked out heavily in my favor. Honestly, if the Resistance hadn't been here, this mission would have been a bloodbath. I mean, it still comes out to be a bloodbath regardless. There's going to be much blood shed yet. Like, we haven't even gone to the... we're in one of the worst situations. And I was really ecstatic there that he hit the weak Berserker, because it meant it died. I didn't have to waste a shot. I could make it do full damage. That Muton was just getting shot. And critted. And yeah, he's panicked, so I was like, okay, I've got one less action I can take. Like, I've got a choice here to make. I think I remember the fact that he had a repeater, so I was like, okay, I can take out the Muton no matter what. And yeah, I decided to Deadeye this guy since it's a 100% shot. Because I just didn't have a choice. I needed to kill it quick because it's just going to keep going after Mox until Mox is dead, you know? And I need him for the future because I only have one skirmisher. And it turned out this was enough to kill it. And then I realized he needed a reload, which meant that he wasn't going to be taking out the Muton up there. So I was like, okay, well, first of all, just in case I miss, Gremlin heal, because he's not going to survive another shot. And then I said, okay, I'm going to take a shot. If I don't, we're kind of screwed. Because I remember this didn't have the, it didn't have a stock on it, so it wasn't going to do guaranteed damage, but I was just very happy that it hit. Like, I was just happy to be there. And then I was like, okay, if I move him up, there's a group of soldiers just there, and the Muton's going to want to grenade them. But I need to go up there because I need to start taking them out because they're either going to throw grenades at us and it's just going to decimate everybody there. Because yeah, if that Muton tosses a grenade up there, I'm going to lose so many people. Resistance, civilian, and I'm going to get heavily wounded because of the Berserker that's also here. I was like, okay, please, 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 hit the Muton and crit. Although I don't think it's possible to crit. But yeah, it was a bad miss. So it's like, I just accepted my fate at that point. If Sarah here doesn't hit the shot and crit, then I'm gonna get grenaded. That was my thought. I'm like, I hit the shot, but I didn't crit. So it's still alive. And then this pissed me off so much. I just peeked the microphone again, but yeah. I got so pissed off at the fact that on top of everything else, there's a faceless right there. I'm like, I have to deal with you now. And I can't. Because now, as you can see, they started attacking the civvies. And I remember her telling something about, please tell my loved ones that and then just kicking the bucket right then and there. And this guy is just messing around back there, jumping tree to tree like Tarzan. And then tracking me. Which, I mean, things were actually looking up at this point because they started targeting the Faceless. I remember the Resistance actually ended up taking out the Faceless before I even had to deal with it. So I was just free to actually act because I think the Faceless has an AoE attack, so it just hits everybody. Which makes them a real pain to deal with. And I thought here, oh, I can take a shot on the Muton from a flanking position and be out of the Chosen's field of view. And then I looked at the ammo counter and realized he has to reload. Oh, actually, I remember, since I was about to shoot, it was actually about to hit the slash, which I believe unless the Muton is disoriented, is just going to get you countered. Like, you're just going to take a hit from the Muton. Like, I believe Berserkers are safe to melee, but I wasn't willing to test it. It's been a while. And yeah, I started taking shots at the Berserker. I was like, okay, this is probably the last of the aliens apart from the Chosen I have to deal with. I don't think the Chosen is going to take shots at the civilians unless I'm in the middle of them. And yeah, at this point it started enraging, so I was like, okay, I need to take it out. Because at this point there's 2 aliens? Oh, right, that's right. We still had the Muton to deal with. But yeah, I was like, okay, if I can take these 2 out right now, I can win. And executed. That actually really cheered me up, because that's the whole reason, oh, I didn't discuss it earlier, but I took a weaker, assault rifle for my specialist, one that didn't have the stock for guaranteed damage, because I wanted that extra 5% chance of insta kills from the superior stock.
what was the advanced stock? It was either advanced or superior. Probably advanced. But 10% chance to just instantly kill anything is pretty big. So that's why I was happy about finding an extra repeater here. Because I was like, okay, I can replace the one I just gotten. And it was just this Muton. And everybody was missing, I remember that. I was getting really upset. And I didn't realize it, but I was actually slowly destroying its cover. So even though everybody was missing, amazing things were actually happening in the background. Which you'll see. Like, at this point, its cover was completely gone, which resulted in this spectacular 100% chance to hit. So I was like, okay, just kill it. And we're done. We just need to go after the hunter. And yeah, and this time he spoke the truth. It really was just him and me. I mean, everybody is tired, but I needed to take things slow. And in hindsight, I should have really started moving up these sharpshooters. I mean, I get the idea I was going for. Like, okay, we'll be able to shoot them across the map. They'll be at least be safe. And if he tries to take pot shots at them, well, I don't really care. I'll just move them up. But things did not work out that way, because I guess he realized that that was going to happen. Because once we actually engaged him... Oh, actually, I hope you like the fact that I put the music on. Because at this point, the Hunter music is playing. So you're not missing what the soundtrack was for it. It really was this that was playing back then. But yeah, once we actually got the Chosen in our line of sight, he jumped down into the valley and our sharpshooters couldn't actually see him. So it was just, they were just standing back there uselessly for the longest time. That's why I said, like, I should have just moved them up. But hindsight is 2020. At least now I will remember his behavior for the future, so I'll be able to counter him better. And this is why I said that I kind of lived up to Empty Terror. I mean, we're still... I don't remember if we lost any more people. We did lose more than I'd like. I mean, I would like to get a perfect so that I get the maximum income boost. But considering the situation that was developing outside of this mission, and this, little did everybody know, these were like the end days, so to speak, because Avatar was done. They were just consolidating it all to finish it off. Now, for all of you who have played XCOM, you know why they're doing that. But for you who don't, you're just going to have to stick around to see. I'm not going to spoil that for you. There's a good reason why the completion of the Avatar project is just an instant game over. Because once you find out what it is, you understand there's no fighting it once it's done. Like, the aliens there are not friendly. And yeah, here was the hunter. At this point, he was just taunting me, going on about how he didn't believe that I'd do anything, you know? Just taunting me. I believe I commented on the fact that he's a former Reaper. So, the thing about the Chosen, they're all former humans. At least, that's the heavy implication of it. Like, the Warlock was probably just a psionic human. The Hunter was a former Reaper. The Assassin, I don't actually know who she was. But yeah, that's why he's like familiar with the Reapers so much. He's using Reaper tactics. Oh, and that's right, I critted him. I critted him with people, I believe. And then I shredded his armor because I was like, okay, you've got armor. I don't like that, especially with your regen ability that's going on. Actually, yeah, I believe his skill set was he would regen. He shoots back if you miss, and he can summon Advent. And his weaknesses were skirmishers, and if he shot more than 3 times. Yeah, I may have already mentioned that, but just in case I didn't, because honestly, it gets kind of tiring watching this episode for as long as I am right now, because I'd already done this. And yeah, as you can see, we're just shooting the hell out of that Chosen. And I thought, okay, this is the point. We're going to kill it. We're going to kill it. And then, of course, she misses, so he ends up healing. And then he heads here, which now he's just going to spend the rest of his time down here. And he tries to go for the kidnap. Like, you see it there. Like, everybody's dazed. And so now he's going to try to go for the kidnap. And the thing with chosen kidnapping, it doesn't count as their defeat. Like, you get rid of them, but I really didn't want him getting any more intel on me, especially as the newest chosen to have made contact with me. So I wanted to leave him for last, because honestly, he's not as bad to deal with. The assassin, like I said, much harder to kill. Warlock is a real pain, but I can deal with it. Hunter, I find him fun because I can control him so well. And it just turned out this is one of the worst kinds of maps to deal with him on. Well, yeah, here I was like, okay, I need to get better shots on him. I couldn't grapple anywhere. I was like, okay, I have to make a call. I can try to take him out, but that's probably not going to work. Oh yeah, he's immune to melee, that's what it was. Like, he could just summon stuff on his own anyway. As one of his basic skills. But yeah, so I was, because at the time I remember thinking at the time, okay, I'm gonna melee him and hopefully stun him. I'm like, wait a minute, he's immune to melee. If I do that, it's not gonna do anything. And now I've got an angry chosen in my face who's flanking me. So I was thinking, okay. Actually, I think he taunted me at this point. I was like, but you guys know my philosophy at this point, no man left behind. And I wasn't gonna let him have any of them. Like, sure, it's like a real time waster, but I wanted my troops to actually live. And I was like, okay, here I'm gonna start getting the high ground with Mox. I can take out this Advent. So I was like, it was just him and me, but now I have to deal with this Advent nonsense. And I was like, okay, they need to reload. Luckily, they still have their free reloads from the autoloader. And I decided, okay, they're going to have to overwatch since they don't have any line of sight on anybody. Which, like I said, I should have just taken that turn to just run them up. Because at that point, they could have helped reinforce my position. Instead, I was breaking do with 4 people. And here, since they're all like disoriented, they're not able to move well. And yeah, I can see he's complaining about how long it was taking. Like, at this point, I was tired. I wanted to stop too. Yeah, and then here they killed another civilian. I got pissed about that. He's just healing off in the background. And he runs back for some reason. Like, he just keeps running back and forth. And they start taking pot shots at him, which I thought, oh, fantastic. Except they miss. And here we see an exact example of why you should not miss against him. Because he shoots back, but I found out from how he dealt with the resistance that he can only shoot back once per turn. So if somebody misses, you don't really have to worry about it after. And yeah, and here we were just, well, I was just debating what I should do. Because, well, things could be worse, but it's just, our positioning was bad. And then that movement was great. 80% chance to hit there. I think I justiced it. Yeah, I justiced it for the increased chance. It was like, worst case scenario, I miss. And I can accept that. Best case scenario, I hit, which is what ended up happening. And it turned out, hey, he's got stuff, so this was like perfect. Like, the laser sight I didn't care about, but the Advent data pad, I loved it for the intel that it was going to provide. I mean, it's not as great as like an alien cache. Or alien cache, that's what it's pronounced as. I've probably triggered somebody really badly with that mispronunciation. But I prefer the alien caches because massive intel boost. But at this point, I needed all the intel I could get because we're gonna have to make a lot of contacts very fast soon. And with the fact that I'm about to get the bonuses from North America in my mind, we're gonna be making contact left, right, and center. And then here I missed. So even though I hit with the repeater and does like not repeater, the stock and does damage, like 4 because of the fact he's a skirmisher, it's still a miss, which is why I was really grateful he was in full cover. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna start moving everybody up because I need to deal with this Chosen before he gets out of hand. It's already taking too long. These guys are gonna be tired. Bob here is gonna be broken because of all the crap he's been through. He's already tired. Yeah, if you see their willpower get to red, they become broken. And what that means is for 30 days, I cannot use them because they're, as it implies, they're mentally broken. It takes them 30 days of recovery, which there's no way to make faster. There's nothing you can do about it. You just have to deal with it. And yeah, at this point, I finally made the call that I was going to move up the sharpshooters. Pretty late, I know. But I was like, okay, I need the backup. I'm pretty sure there's no other aliens on the field. And he got shot. He started bleeding. I was like, ah. And the resistance started moving. And at this point, I was like, okay, I'm going to end up losing the resistance if this keeps going. I can't keep delaying it. But I can't get a good shot. Like, he's moving too much. And he got shot, but he lived. So I was like, okay, I can save a maximum of 13 people at this point. I just need to somehow get my boys over here and then finish him off. Because I'm like, I need to just finish him off. It's taking too long. Mox needs to reload. I wanted to take a double shot. I can't. I was like, okay, who has a grenade? Because that way I can at least get rid of his cover. And that way we're all flanking him. We can just go to town on him. But at this point, nobody has a grenade. Nobody. I'm like, okay, this sucks. And he's no longer bleeding because of that action I took, because I believe he's still disoriented. Well, I don't remember, because like I said, there's no sound, there's no indication for me to know. I just kind of have to remember what it was that was happening. I just remember thinking, I really hate this spot. All I have is a flashbang. The flashbang doesn't even work on the Chosen. Nobody's hitting their shots. Like you can see, like Bob just spent the whole episode just missing, and it ticked me off. And then again, and just another miss. If it wasn't for that stock, he would have just missed entirely. And he's not firing back. And again, just misses. And he's taunting me the whole time. Yeah, like there. You can see he just blames it on bad leadership. I'm like, it's not bad leadership, it's just bad positioning. And then here we just get insanely lucky, and it's a hit. So he goes down, and at this point I start celebrating. Like, you guys can't hear it, but I'm like just celebrating my mind off. Thinking, hey, I just killed the hunter. I'm like, so there you go, boys, there's a hunter. That's what it's like to fight him. And then here he's just like, I don't know, it seemed like a backhanded compliment. I was like, yeah, eat that. So we got the Chosen defeated. The retaliation is over. It lived up to its name. I believe it was empty terror. Yeah, it was pretty empty considering that the Mexican resistance managed to actually succeed. Actually, when I told my mom afterward about the fact that the Mexican resistance like did pretty good, she was really happy about it. Since her side of the family comes from there. So she just went on about like these random patriotic songs. It really amused me when that happened. And yeah, oh right, I remember. So you can't hear it, but the propaganda speaker was just like going on about how at this point, not saying that it's dissonant activity that results in closing of places. They're saying dissonant activity by the organization of XCOM, which means we're getting pretty famous now, since now they're pointing us by name. And here you just see everybody's tired. Every single person. And yeah, I was like, okay, none of these troops are going to go back into battle. Oh yeah, I gave him Shadow Step. It's a risky strategy, especially with the Spectres and their shadow bounding, because just think about it. Like, if it's a Shadow Stepped clone, you want to shoot it in Overwatch, but you can't. Meanwhile, if it's a mind control person, you do not want to trigger the Overwatch on them because the AI just does it. And yeah, there were the different corpses. We got 13 civilians rescued. Honestly, the biggest deal I think was the advanced repeater and the Advent datapad. Those two did some work in, well, you'll see. They opened up a lot of possibilities, let's put it that way. Like once you see episode 18, you realize that, yeah, this whole audio was recorded after the fact. And here I was so mad. Mox had literally just recovered from his fear. Well, it wasn't a fear, it was just like his over aggressiveness, and now he's has a fear of mutants, which sucks because I have to deal with the mutants forever. Like, there's not going to be a time where they're going to be gone for good. Not like the berserkers, which I think we'll have to deal with the end game. And here I was talking to you guys. We went to the bar. I noticed the donuts that were there in celebration, I think. Actually, no, I don't think I noticed them. But still, there was that. I was actually really inspired by that little radio broadcast, because I was like, hey, yeah, we're not going to go out without a fight. And here I was just saying that it was going to be the end of the episode. So honestly, I hope you enjoyed this. I did my best in trying to recover as much as I could. This won't be a regular time occurrence. Like, this won't happen again, I promise. So thank you for understanding, and I'll see you in the next episode.